Well, the last 18 hours have been very interesting for Republican Representative Lauren Boebert, and she has now come out to respond to the allegations that have been made against her. So, first, in case you missed this, and you may have missed this because the media has barely covered this, I found one mainstream press article about this in Newsweek that I'm going to reference in a second here, but apart from them, no one else is covering this. So before I get to, let me just show you. She was a paid escort, allegedly, and allegedly had two abortions. Now, these actions on their own aren't a problem. Obviously, it's the fact that she is a Republican fighting against a woman's right to choose. So fighting against women's ability to control their bodies, that, of course, is in direct conflict with this sort of behavior. But imagine allegations about AOC doing this came out, which wouldn't even be hypocritical, because she's fighting for women's rights. But imagine this information came out about her. Every single media outlet would be covering it. But Boebert, they aren't even touching it. And it's not like this is some random, unknown group here. American Muckrakers PAC, that's who releases this information. They also released a video about Madison Cawthorn. They have a history of releasing credible leaks. So you have a group here with a history of credible work, and releasing this now about Boebert and it's barely being covered, kind of odd. There really is a double standard here, and the media is deathly afraid of Republican voters. It really is. It's disgusting. Again, and also in terms of how Democrats and Republicans act. Democrats right now are not touching this, but again, if it was a Democrat that had done this stuff, again, nothing here hypocritical, but even still, if a Democrat had done this stuff, Republicans for sure would be coming out and, bringing this up and making it a big story. But Democrats don't fight. That's the reality. Anyways, here's the information. So she was apparently a paid escort, again, allegedly for sugardaddymeat.com, and allegedly had two abortions. Boebert met Senator Ted Cruz in Aspen through introduction by Koch family member and client. And that's when she went on to then decide to run for Congress. And Boebert had an abortion at Planned Parenthood in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, due to her work with sugardaddymeat.com. So part of this allegation here is that Cruz gave her a ton of money, donated at least $136,000 to her campaign, and helped her raise large sums of money during trips Boebert made to Texas. And Boebert didn't disclose $70,000 of that money. Not sure why. Not sure why Ted Cruz met a paid escort and thought, you know what, you should run for Congress. This is one of my big takeaways here, apart from the media, not covering the story, is where Republicans get their politicians. Like, Boebert has no experience in public service, no experience in government. You just meet her as a paid escort and you think, you know what? This is somebody that I think can run for Congress. Really, really, really bizarre. But ultimately, I think the reason for that, and this is my speculation, again, if this is true, is because you can essentially now control this person. You have this dirt on them. They can now be a vote that is bought and paid for by the oil industry. As you're going to see, there's connections to the oil industry here as well. Bought and paid for by the oil industry and is a reliable vote. That's it. So you can hold this kind of thing over them and make them vote your way on every issue. And that appears to be, if this is true, the case here. Now, just to get the full breakdown. So Boebert had two abortions, but says other women shouldn't be able to make this decision. Boebert was driving an ATV in Moab and had a serious wreck with her son in the back. And her sister-in-law is so seriously injured, she has to be flown to the hospital via life flight. Boebert doesn't report the accident as required by Utah law, and then actively works to cover up the accident 2 weeks before the primary election, including paying her sister-in-law off to remain silent. Boebert uses donor money to pay her taxes and restaurant rent. Boebert still owes her employees back pay and threatens them if they protest. Jason Boebert, and this is maybe the worst in terms of the actions here. Jason Boebert has a consulting contract for an oil and gas company for $460,000 a year, but has zero consulting experience. So just pay to play. Out of all the behaviors, on their own, separate from even the individual, that is the worst. Is just this sort of the way corporate America buys off politicians or their loved ones. And by the way, this is a Democratic and Republican issue. Hunter Biden has had a similar thing here with in terms of Ukraine and their attempt to use him to influence policy, even though, again, more information came out that wasn't actually successful, but still they tried to. But here, another example of that with this oil company buying her husband. Now, of course, in 2021, Boebert pushed a bill to block funding to Planned Parenthood, as well as other health centers providing abortions. In the same year, she notoriously told Planned Parenthood to go fund yourself. On her website, Boebert prides herself in supporting overturning Roe v. Wade and restoring the sanctity of life to the law. So this, of course, is the issue. Boebert's incredible hypocrisy here and a long history of this. Here's a tweet from last month. Abortion has killed millions more than COVID ever did. Abortion is not healthcare. End of story. So what has Boebert come out now to say in response to this? Here it is. This is it. Fact check, not true. Fake news for Pinocchios. Also, y'all need Jesus. Y'all need Jesus. Okay. I gotta say, if this allegation came out about me, and I'm in her position, I would freak the hell out. I would have my legal team ready. I would be there would already be a lawsuit prepared. This is your reaction? Here's the thing. They know there's no, or I'm sure she knows there's no, or she is probably confident there's no videos of her being an escort. So she can deny. They have pictures, American Muckrakers. They have pictures of her on the site, but those pictures apparently were also already online somewhere. So again, there's plausible deniability there. And the story may not even be true. It may be fake. But I'm just saying, if it happened to me, I feel like the reaction would be a lot different than just this. Also considering, the source of the story and their history of releasing credible information. But that's her reaction. Also, she's not taking this laying down. So she tweeted out here back in 2020, actually, I'm a Christian, so they may try to drive me to my knees, but that's where I'm the strongest. Important thing to note here. Just credit to Anna Kasparian for finding that tweet. All right. Now, Boebert, I mean, this is the thing with Boebert. She already has a terrible history. If you are a Republican, a conservative voter, you're a conservative voter, you're a Christian, you care about, I would assume you should, if that's how you're voting, care about people who are also conservatives and Christians, and they are kind to others. Like, I'm saying this as if like that's what the Republican base is. No, the Republican base, the conservative base, that Christian base is all about hating other people. So of course they don't care. But her history is already terrible. So everything I'm going to read here is verifiable. You can look this up. Local news reports. It's all true. But it's all summarized here nicely, so it's easier just to read this. So this is from Attack Ads. This is from Reddit. I'm from the small town she represents. Her restaurant is garbage and was failing before a news story came out about the waitresses carrying pistols, and the story caught fire. Nobody in the town cared because everyone else owns a gun too. She once poisoned dozens of people at the local county fair by serving them bad food, which sent several to the hospital. Her husband exposed himself to underage girls at the bowling alley. She's actually a native of Florida, moved to Colorado following her husband's oil and gas job, has zero political experience beyond yelling at Beto O'Rourke once, and is essentially a puppet for oil executives who are trying to steal public lands in the West for resource extraction. Plus, she actively supports QAnon conspiracies. So all this is true. She tweeted out the location of Nancy Pelosi during the insurrection. Everything else said here is true. Yes, her husband did do this. Yes, she did poison people. And send people to the hospital. Yeah, all this is true. They don't care. this was before. A lot of this was before she became a member of Congress. They don't care. They just don't care. And there's even more. Denver Post here. Lauren Boebert has a history of minor arrests, court no-shows. Rifle Republican has been arrested and summoned 4 times in the past decade. And here's her mugshot. This was out before she became member of Congress. This is 2020, before the election. They don't care. Doesn't matter. Hypocrisy means nothing to these people. They don't care at all. So last thing here, and this is not to do with Boebert, but Herschel Walker, just another example of more hypocrisy that they will not care about. Daily Beast reports Herschel Walker, GOP nominee for Senate in Georgia, fathered a second son with whom he is not in contact. Walker has often criticized absentee fathers, specifically in black households. Here in 2020, he called fatherless homes a major, major problem. Just another example. They don't care. Nothing matters. Facts don't matter. This is why you have to fight these people with everything you have. Don't give them an inch. When you don't jump on a story like this, even if it's just alleged, fine, clarify that it's an alleged story, but make it public, discuss it, attack her with it, point out the obvious hypocrisy here. Like, you have to be willing to use dirt against these people. They will use lies against you. You won't even use dirt from a reliable source that has a history of posting credible information. Democrats silent about this. Most of media silent about this. That, out of this entire story, that is what disgusts me the most.